Okay, let's get into this. We're doing a deep dive today, looking at some really interesting source material. It's all about a conflict.
Hmm.
Specifically, the relationship breakdown, apparently quite dramatic, between Donald Trump and Elon Musk.
Right, and the source we're examining, it really frames this whole thing as a beef.
Hmm.
Says pretty clearly they went from being allies to, and this is a quote, full-blown enemies.
Full-blown enemies. Wow.
Yeah. So our goal here is really just to unpack this specific source's story, pull out the key points, the timeline it lays out, and, the why it matters according to them.
Exactly. And the source, it really sets things up by talking about how they started out very much an alliance, is how it's framed.
Hmm.
It points to a massive contribution from Elon Musk. The source says over $300 million for Trump's 2024 campaign.
300 million.
Definitely.
That definitely signals a pretty tight alignment initially, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Big money.
And it wasn't just money, according to this account. The source talks about discussions, potential roles for Musk if Trump won, specifically heading up a new department,
Oh, yeah.
a Department of Government Efficiency. And there's this, little detail in the source. Musk supposedly nicknamed it DOGE.
Yeah, OGE. Okay. Like
Yeah.
yeah.
Right. So it suggests, maybe a close relationship, potentially collaborative, was on the table, at least according to this source.
So you've got the huge donation, talk of a government post.
Yeah.
Seems pretty solid. But then the source identifies a specific trigger, a turning point.
Yes.
It says Trump introduced his one big, beautiful bill, that was his name for it, meant to save the economy, in his words.
And that bill, this source claims, is what really broke things. The key part, as the source lays it out, was how it affected Tesla directly.
How so?
It says the bill, quote, slashed EV tax credits. And the source doesn't mince words. That says this action effectively body slammed Tesla.
Body slammed Tesla. Okay, that's vivid language from the source. It really highlights the negative impact it supposedly had.
Exactly. A bill supposedly for the whole economy ends up, per this account, hitting one of Musk's flagship companies hard. Quite a twist.
Yeah, no kidding. So that obviously led to things heating up. How did Musk react, according to this source?
Well, the source describes it as pretty immediate and very public. He apparently criticized the bill openly, saying it would, quote, destroy innovation.
Strong words.
And he used Twitter, too, reportedly. Put out a tweet saying the bill was beautiful if you hate the future. So, yeah, pretty clear signal things had changed.
Definitely not subtle. And the source says the conflict didn't just stop at policy disagreements, right? It got personal.
Oh, yeah, it escalated. The source brings up Musk hinting at something much more serious, suggesting Trump might be hiding, get this, secret Epstein documents.
Whoa, okay.
It was supposedly in a cryptic tweet. The source notes got deleted later, but you know how that goes. Screenshots exist.
Right, screenshots always exist. Bringing Epstein into it. That's a massive escalation described here, taking it somewhere else entirely.
Absolutely. And according to this source, Trump's reported reaction was just as intense. It alleges Trump then threatened to pull federal contracts
From who?
from both SpaceX and Tesla. The source kind of frames it like he went full, you'll never work in this town again.
Wow. Threatening federal contracts for companies like SpaceX. I mean, that's huge, right? The stakes get incredibly high there.
Enormous.
So based on what this source says, what were the actual consequences? Did things happen?
The source points to some immediate fallout. It mentions Tesla's stock price dipped after all this came out.
Okay.
It flags the potential risk to SpaceX missions if those contract threats were, actually carried out.
Makes sense.
And it also mentions Wall Street's reaction. Describe them as, quote, kind of freaking out, which I think captures the nervousness this kind of public fight created.
Yeah, kind of freaking out. That paints a picture.
So, stepping back a bit, why does this specific fight, as this source presents it, actually matter? Is it just, rich guys feuding?
Well, this source argues it's much more than that. It lays out clear reasons why it's significant.
Like what?
Okay, first, the direct hit to Tesla investors. Their money is involved. Second, those potential government deals for SpaceX, really important contracts, suddenly seem shaky.
Right.
Third, from Trump's side, he potentially loses this massive donor he seemed to have lined up. And finally, as the source notes, Wall Street just hates this kind of high-profile, high-stakes uncertainty involving major companies and political figures. It creates instability.
It really does show you how tangled everything is, doesn't it? Personal feelings, huge business stakes, political power. This source seems to frame the whole conflict right at that intersection.
It really does. And the way the source tells it, the story might not even be finished.
Well, it leaves some questions hanging based on its narrative.
Yeah.
Like, will Musk leak anything else, like that tweet hinted? Could Trump actually follow through and impact those SpaceX contracts? These are sort of cliffhangers in the source's account.
It's quite a journey described in this material. Starts with alliance, big money, talk of a government job, then boom, a policy dispute that's seen as an attack. Escalates to personal stuff, alleged threats against core businesses.
Yeah, quite the arc.
So if we just focus strictly on the dynamics presented in this source, this path from ally to enemy, the specific triggers it mentions, the reactions, the fallout, it describes what does this particular story, this conflict between these two powerful individuals as the source depicts it, tell you about how personal ties, business, and political power can intersect and sometimes, well, explode.